Hey everyone, in this video, we'll uncover the most valuable USA silver Washington quarter dollar you should be on the lookout for. We'll break down what makes these silver Washington quarter dollars so special, how much they're worth in today's market, and what you need to know to sell them successfully at auction. So let's get started. First up, the 1995 USA Washington quarter dollar coin with D-mint mark is a modern yet collectible piece of American coinage that reflects the enduring legacy of the Washington design, which has been a part of U.S. history since 1932, although many people refer to it as a silver quarter. It's important to note that regular, circulation quarters minted after 1964 are not made of silver. The 1995 D Washington quarter is composed of a copper-nickel-clad 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel with a pure copper core. However, its bright metallic appearance and the natural color tone that can develop over time often lead collectors to describe it as silver. This particular coin, struck at the Denver Mint, can be identified by the D Mint mark located on the obverse, just to the right of George Washington's ponytail ribbon. The Denver Mint is one of the main U.S. mints responsible for producing coins for everyday use, and in 1995, it struck over 1.13 billion Washington quarters, meaning this issue is quite common in circulation. The obverse, front of the coin, features the classic portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. His left-facing profile is bold and dignified, symbolizing strength and leadership. Above his head is the word liberty, while the motto, "In God We Trust," appears to the left of the bust, and the date 1995 is shown below. Over the years, this portrait has been slightly modified to adapt to modern minting techniques, but the essence of Flanagan's design remains the same. The reverse, back of the coin features the well-known eagle design, also by John Flanagan. The eagle is perched proudly on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing readiness and defense, with an olive branch below representing peace. The inscriptions, United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and quarter dollar encircle the image. This design was used continuously from 1932 until 1998, before being replaced by the State Quarters program in 1999. The 1995 issue thus represents one of the final years of the original Washington Eagle reverse design, which adds nostalgic value to modern collectors. Your coin is described as having a red color shade, being in good condition and showing some scratches. The reddish tone is likely the result of natural oxidation or environmental exposure that has caused the copper core beneath the nickel layer to show through slightly. Over time, exposure to air, moisture, and temperature changes can lead to light surface discoloration, including red, brown, or even purple hues. In some cases, collectors refer to this as toning. Mild red toning can make a coin look unique and interesting, though it typically doesn't increase its value unless it's evenly distributed and visually appealing. In good condition, a coin shows significant circulation wear. The main design elements, Washington's face, hair, and the eagle's feathers, are visible but flattened, with few fine details left. The inscriptions remain legible, though the surfaces often appear dull or scratched from years of handling. Since your coin has some scratches, it indicates additional wear from circulation and contact with other coins, which is common for a coin nearly 30 years old. In terms of metal content, the 1995 D Washington quarter contains no silver, so its intrinsic melt value is simply its base metal content, only a few cents. Its collector value, therefore, depends entirely on its condition, mint mark, and any special attributes such as toning or errors. For the 1995 D Washington quarter, the current market value in good condition with scratches typically remains at face value, 0.25. However, some collectors may pay slightly more, around 0.30 to $0.50 for coins with attractive natural toning or clean overall surfaces. Coins in uncirculated mint state condition, free of wear and retaining their original luster, can be worth $1 to $5, while certified high-grade examples, MS-66 and above, can sometimes reach $15 to $25 at auctions. It's also worth noting that proof coins of this year, struck at the San Francisco Mint and bearing an S Mint mark, were made of 90% silver and sold in collector sets. Those silver proofs have a bright, mirror-like finish and contain real silver value. However, your 1995 D coin from the Denver Mint is a circulation strike, not silver, so its worth comes mainly from its collectible appeal rather than precious metal content. Next up, the 1968 USA Washington Quarter. Dollar coin without a mint mark is a fascinating piece of American coinage from the late 1960s, a time when the U.S. Mint had recently transitioned from silver to base metal coinage. Although you've described it as a silver quarter, the 1968 Washington Quarter is actually not made of silver if it was intended for circulation. Regular 1968 quarters were struck with a copper-nickel-clad composition, 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. However, there were special proof versions made that year in 90% silver, but those were struck only at the San Francisco Mint with an S Mint mark and sold in proof sets to collectors. Since your coin has no mint mark, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint and is a regular circulation issue, not silver. Your coin is described as being in very fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, very fine VF means the coin shows moderate wear on the higher points of the design, but retains strong overall detail. On the obverse, Washington's hair still shows visible strands and waves, though the highest points are smoothed. The facial features, lettering, and date remain sharp. On the reverse, the eagle's wings and tail feathers show wear, but are still clearly outlined. The scratches you mention are typical for a coin that has circulated for decades and do not drastically reduce the coin's overall value unless they are deep or distracting. Even though your 1968 quarter is not silver, it still carries historical interest. This was only the third year that Washington quarters were made entirely without silver for general circulation, following the Coinage Act of 1965. That law removed silver from dimes and quarters because of rising silver prices and coin shortages at the time. As a result, the 1968 issue represents part of America's shift to modern coinage materials. From a composition standpoint, your coin's total weight is 5.67 grams, with a reeded edge. The clad design features a silvery outer layer of nickel and copper over a reddish copper core, which can sometimes show faint reddish or brown tones along the edge or when the outer layer wears thin. This effect often gives the coin a silver look with slight color variation, something many collectors find visually appealing. In very fine condition, a 1968 quarter without a mint mark has primarily collector interest rather than melt value since there's no silver content. In today's market, circulated examples like yours typically have a value around $0.25 to $0.40. Some collectors may pay slightly more, around $0.50 if the coin has attractive toning, minimal marks, or particularly even wear. If your coin happened to be a proof strike from the San Francisco Mint, which would have a clear S Mint mark and was made of 90% silver, its value would be much higher, typically $5 to $8 depending on condition, and even more for pristine examples. However, since your coin has no mint mark, it was minted in Philadelphia and is a standard circulation issue, not a silver proof. There are also certain error varieties from this era that can make a 1968 quarter more valuable. For instance, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, doubled dies, or coins with missing layers have been found among quarters from the late 1960s. These errors are uncommon. but can fetch anywhere from $20 to several $100s, depending on severity and visibility. If your coin shows any unusual doubling on the lettering or date, or an irregular shape or thickness, it might be worth having it checked by a coin expert or grading service. Historically, the 1968 Washington quarter marks a return of the mint marks after a brief pause. During 1965-1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from all coins to discourage hoarding during the nationwide coin shortage. In 1968, the mint marks were restored and moved to the obverse front of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail ribbon. Since your coin has no mint mark, it confirms that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark at that time. Next up, the 1978 USA Washington quarter dollar coin without a mint mark is a classic example of late 20th century American coinage, carrying the familiar portrait of George Washington that has appeared on the quarter since 1932. While it's often called a silver quarter, it's important to note that no regular 1978 quarters were struck in silver for circulation. The last regular silver quarters were made in 1964. From 1965 onward, all circulation quarters, including the 1978 issue, were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition, consisting of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. Your coin has no mint mark, which means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. This mint did not use a mint mark on quarters until 1980, so the absence of a mint mark is normal for your coin. The Philadelphia Mint produced a large number of these coins in 1978, more than 521 million pieces, making it a very common issue. Your coin is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading, fine F condition indicates that the coin has moderate to heavy wear from circulation. The major design elements remain clear and visible, but much of the finer detail, such as the texture of Washington's hair or the feathers on the eagle, has worn smooth. The scratches you mention are typical of coins that have circulated for decades, caused by contact with other coins and surfaces. These do not severely diminish the value unless they are deep or disfiguring. The composition of this coin gives it a total weight of 5.67 grams and a reeded edge. The outer layers of copper and nickel give it a silver-like appearance, while the pure copper core gives a reddish tone along the edge or where the outer layer has thinned. Because of this copper-nickel-clad construction, the coin has no intrinsic silver value. Its melt value is only a few cents, based on its base metal content. In terms of market value, the 1978 quarter without a mint mark is a common coin. In fine condition with some scratches, its value in today's market is generally around 0.25 to 0.35, essentially its face value with perhaps a small collector's premium. In very fine VF or extra fine XF condition, it might sell for $0.50, while uncirculated mint state examples can fetch $2 to $5, depending on luster and strike quality. Exceptionally high-grade certified specimens, graded MS66 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for $15 to $30, though such coins are rare since most 1978 quarters saw heavy circulation. There were no major errors or varieties associated with the 1978 Philadelphia quarters, but occasionally, collectors encounter off-center strikes, double strikes, or coins struck on defective planchets. These mint errors can be quite valuable, sometimes selling for $50 to several $100s, depending on the rarity and visibility of the error. If your coin has unusual features, such as partial designs, extra thickness, or doubling on the letters or numbers, it might be worth a closer look by a numismatic expert. From a historical perspective, the 1978 Washington quarter represents the last years before a major design change. In the late 1970s, the U.S. Mint was preparing for modernization. New designs, updated presses, and more efficient minting technology. The Washington quarter design had already been in use for over 45 years, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history at that point. Coins from this period bridge the gap between the post-silver era and the modern numismatic era, when collectors began paying closer attention to mint marks, condition, and varieties. The fine condition of your coin tells the story of its journey through everyday use. For nearly half a century, it may have changed hands thousands of times, in shops, gas stations, and vending machines, making it not only a collectible, but also a piece of American life and history. Even though it has scratches and wear, these signs of age give it character, showing its long service in circulation. Next up, the 1990 USA Washington quarter dollar coin with a P mint mark is a modern American coin that continues the long-running design tradition of the Washington quarter series. Although often called a silver quarter, it's important to note that the 1990 P Washington quarter is not made of silver. Like all regular circulation quarters minted after 1964, it was struck in copper-nickel-clad composition, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. Only certain proof quarters made in San Francisco were produced in silver that year, and those carry an S mint mark, not a PUR. Coin's P mint mark indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This was during a period when the mint was producing very high numbers of coins to meet national circulation needs, and in 1990, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 613 million quarters, making it a common issue overall. Your coin is described as being in extra fine XF condition, with some scratches. In numismatic grading, extra fine means the coin shows light, but even wear across the high points of the design. The major details, such as Washington's hair curls, the eagle's feathers, and the lettering, remain sharp and well-defined. The coin has lost some of its original mint luster, but retains a pleasant overall appearance. The light scratches you mention are normal for a circulated coin and don't significantly affect its value unless they are deep or concentrated. Because your coin is composed of copper-nickel clad, its metal melt value is only a few cents, depending on current base metal prices. Its true worth comes from its collectible and historical interest rather than its intrinsic metal content. In terms of market value, a 1990 P Washington quarter in extra fine condition typically sells for around 0.25 to 0.50, just slightly above face value. This small premium reflects its collectible interest rather than rarity, as hundreds of millions were struck and most remain in circulation today. In uncirculated, mint state condition with full luster and minimal marks, the coin can be worth $1 to $5. Certified high-grade examples, such as those graded MS66 or MS67 by PCGS or NGC, can reach $15 to $30 or more, depending on strike quality and eye appeal. While the standard 1990p issue is common, collectors occasionally seek out error varieties that can significantly increase the value. Notable errors might include off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, or coins struck on the wrong metal plancher, such as a nickel or cent blank. These minting mistakes can range in value from $25 to several $100s, depending on the rarity and visibility of the error. If your coin shows any unusual doubling, thickness, or misalignment, it might be worth having it examined by a professional grader or coin expert. The 1990p Washington quarter holds historical significance as part of the final decade of the original eagle reverse design. At this time, the U.S. Mint was preparing for major innovations in coinage, including the creation of the 50 state quarters program. As such, the 1990 issue represents one of the last years before this major transformation in U.S. numismatics. Your coin's extra fine condition means it was well cared for or lightly circulated. compared to the heavily worn examples still commonly found in change. Even with some scratches, it remains an attractive collectible for those who appreciate modern-era U.S. coins. Many collectors build complete runs of Washington quarters by date and mint mark, and your 1990p fits neatly into that sequence as part of the transition period leading up to the statehood series. Next up, the 1984 USA Washington quarter dollar coin with D mint mark is an interesting collectible that represents one of the later issues of the pre-state quarter era. While it is often described as a silver quarter, it's important to clarify that the 1984 D Washington quarter was not struck in silver for general circulation. Instead, it was minted in a copper-nickel-clad composition, which consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. The coin's silvery appearance can make it look like silver, especially when slightly worn or oxidized, but its actual metal content does not contain any silver. This coin carries the D mint mark, meaning it was minted at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The 1980s were a period of high production for U.S. quarters, and in 1984, the Denver Mint produced an impressive 546,483,064 coins, making it a very common issue. Although large mintages generally mean lower collectible value, coins from this era can still attract interest for their historical design, condition, or mint errors. Your coin is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches, which means it has circulated for many years and likely accumulated dust, surface grime, or light discoloration. Such conditions are common for coins that have been in use for decades. The scratches indicate wear from handling, contact with other coins, or long-term storage in less than ideal environments. Despite these imperfections, the coin's design and lettering remain identifiable, which is important for both collectors and appraisers. From a grading perspective, your coin likely falls within the fine F to very fine VF range. This means there's visible wear across Washington's hair and face, and the eagle's feathers may be smooth in some areas, but all major design elements and inscriptions are still clearly readable. In terms of composition and melt value, since the 1984 D quarter is made of copper-nickel, its metal value is only worth a few cents based on the copper and nickel market. Its true worth lies in its collectible and historical interest. In the current coin market, a circulated 1984 D Washington quarter in average condition typically trades for $0.25 to $0.50, which is close to its face value. In better preserved examples, such as extra fine, XF, or about uncirculated AU condition, the coin might fetch around $1 to $2 from collectors who seek to complete their quarter date and mint sets. Uncirculated, mint state coins with full luster and minimal marks can range from $5 to $10, depending on their sharpness and eye appeal. However, like many modern U.S. coins, the real excitement for collectors often comes from error coins or varieties. Certain 1984 D quarters have been found with minting errors such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, or clipped planchets. These minting mistakes can make the coin far more valuable, ranging anywhere from $25 to over $200, depending on the type and severity of the error. Therefore, if your coin shows any unusual doubling, shape irregularity, or thickness differences, it could be worth examining more closely by a coin expert or certified grading service. Historically, the 1984 D Washington quarter also marks an important era in U.S. coinage. The early to mid-1980s saw the U.S. Mint refining its production technology, which led to higher mintages and improved strike quality. These coins represent a bridge between the traditional eagle reverse design and the upcoming transition to the commemorative State Quarter series that began in 1999. Although your coin is in dirty condition with some scratches, it still carries historical and collectible appeal. Many collectors enjoy cleaning and preserving such coins, though professional numismatists typically advise against aggressive cleaning, as it can damage the surface and reduce value. Instead, gentle handling and proper storage in a coin flip or holder can help prevent further deterioration. Visually, the 1984 D Washington quarter retains the timeless appearance of American coinage. Even with some tarnish or dirt, the contrast between its nickel surface and copper core, visible on the coin's edge, offers a glimpse into its layered construction, a small but fascinating detail in modern minting. In summary, your 1984 USA Washington quarter-dollar coin with a D mint mark was minted at the Denver Mint using copper-nickel-clad composition. It features the iconic designs of George Washington on the obverse and the American eagle on the reverse. In dirty condition with some scratches, its current market value in today's collector and auction market is around $0.25 to $0.50, while higher grade or error examples can be worth $5 to $50 or more, depending on rarity and preservation. Though not rare or silver, it remains a classic piece of U.S. coinage, a lasting symbol of American history, artistry, and the everyday commerce that has carried these coins through countless hands across decades.